What's up, fight fans? This is JD at Bvtvnews, and I'm back to give y'all the latest and greatest news in the sport of boxing. And let's talk about the Puerto Rican sensation, Mr. Eddie Berlanga, who is returning to the ring this Saturday against McCrory, an Irishman who is undefeated at 18-0 with 9 knockouts. Now, we got Eddie Berlanga, who is still sitting at 21-0. If you remember, he ended up starting off his career, with 16 straight first-round knockouts. Now, that's arguably is probably the fastest start for any boxer probably in history. He started out all first 16 bouts, a knockout in the first round. Now, after that point, there was the hype was at its highest for Eddie Berlanga. We saw him, partying with Fat Joe, rubbing shoulders with celebrities, and he seemed to be, pretty high up, in the hype as one of the top prospects in the sport of boxing. But then suddenly it seemed like we saw a bit of slippage, and Eddie Berlanga went down and started to have a lot of decisions. And it really culminated, back on a June night in 2022 when he fought Angulo and attempted to bite his ear. At that point, we literally saw that, Eddie Berlanga had gotten frustrated over the sudden difficulty that he was experiencing in the ring. We saw him, end up knocked down to the canvas in fights. We saw him struggling to get those knockouts. We saw him really starting to take a step up in competition, and things suddenly weren't so easy. Now, that put him in a position where he totally appears to have taken a step back and really gone back to his roots and to his fundamentals so that he can get his star back on track and become that star in boxing, especially representing the island of Puerto Rico, and, get those big fights in the sport of boxing. Now, I got to admit, when you listen to Eddie Berlanga speak ahead of this McCrory fight, it sounds as if, he's really wanting this to be a Saul Canelo Alvarez showcase. He said that he's going into the ring to try to look special. He's going to try to make it look like McCrory is not even anywhere near on his level. And he feels like he's got to go into the fight and truly dominate because, remember, as of right now, while all signs point to Jermall Charlo for Canelo Alvarez, the Eddie Berlanga camp is thinking that if he can look spectacular, and when you factor in the fact that he's got a whole island of a fan base behind him, that maybe, just maybe, Canelo Alvarez might just switch things up and potentially look at Eddie Berlanga for a Mexico versus Puerto Rico clash on Cinco de Mayo weekend. So, who knows if that's pie in the sky? Who knows if that's realistic? But it sounds like that is where Eddie Berlanga's mind is as he goes into this fight against McCrory. We will see how he handles, another step up in competition. Even though McCrory hasn't had really any stiff competition, he is an undefeated fighter, 50% knockout, percentage. So he's coming into the fight with solid punch, but not, the best punching power, for a fighter who's at the 168-pound limit. But nonetheless, this is the return of Eddie Berlanga as he looks to, rewrite, his career and get back on track, and become, that star again in the sport. He's looking to try to win over fans once again because after, that slippage occurred and suddenly, he started going the distance and not looking so hot, a lot of fans honestly abandoned him. A lot of people said he was just a hype job. And so he's looking to prove that he was not just hype, and that he truly is a viable opponent, and that he deserves the opportunity to become champion in the sport of boxing. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think that Eddie Berlanga is for real? And do you think that he will really give us, a real showcase this Saturday and prove that, he's a viable opponent at this point for Canelo Alvarez in a Mexico versus Puerto Rico clash? But let me know what you think in the comments. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, man, as always, this is JD at Bvtvnews, and I'm out.